No one's going to run your business as good as what you're going to run your business. Hire someone and they're just there for the money. They're going to give you the bare minimum rather than giving you the best. Believe me, someone will make a business out of your business. You don't want to hear stories. We don't want to hear stories about how. So if you're going to go into any type of farming or agriculture, I would suggest be ready for the bill. Be ready for the repair cost that is going to come your way. It comes to our houses, our cars, any of that stuff. There is no maintenance culture. I kid you not. You wouldn't think that that's something that has to be said or you have to tell people. You need to be as cashless as possible. Hey guys, welcome back. All right, in today's video, I want to talk about 5 businesses that are very risky to do in Ghana, especially if you're not on the ground full time. So I thought it'd be great to delve into this a little bit, just to give you a little bit more insight. So if you're thinking about starting any of these businesses, it will give you something to think about. They are great businesses. I'm not saying, let me just clear this up. I'm not saying they're not good businesses. They are good businesses, but they require some effort. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the list and you can comment as you feel. As I mentioned the businesses, you can tell me what you think about each one, what I've said, if you agree, if you disagree, and all of that good stuff. So let's just head straight in there. So the first business that is very, very risky to do in Ghana is going to be a restaurant or any type of food business. Now, the reason that I'm saying it's risky, especially if you're abroad, is because there are so many things that can go wrong. Okay, we've all been to restaurants before, right? Where restaurants is one of those things where people come not just for the food, but also for the experience. So if you can't provide them with a really good experience plus good food, it makes it very difficult. In Ghana, there are tons of restaurants around, different types of restaurants. Okay, so first of all, you're in a very high demand industry, right? And second of all, you have to deal with certain things like staff. Okay, we've touched on this before, but staff members can be very, very tricky. Something like the food business is a very high turnover industry, right? When it comes to staff, staff come and go. They come, you train them up 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, they're gone, 6 months, they're gone. It's very difficult to get staff who stay the duration and who you can really work with and really trust. And so that can make that business very, very difficult to do. But not only that, I'm not joking, people steal a lot. And so you can imagine if you're not on the ground to monitor some of these things, it can get out of hand very, very quickly, okay? So one of my aunties owns a restaurant and they're like, she barely leaves. I'm like, I can't do a business like that because I need space, the kind of person that I am, and you have to know yourself too, right? Depending on the kind of person you are. If you don't mind sitting at that restaurant every single day, then hey, hats off to you, that's great. But if you want something where you can pop in, pop out and all of that, then a food restaurant is going to be one of the toughest businesses to get into in Ghana because you need to be there. You need to be there to check on the staff to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. You need to make sure that, things are being rung up as they're supposed to be rung up, right? Making sure ingredients aren't going missing. You have to make sure that you're on the grounds because there's going to be a lot of supervising to do. So even if you're thinking that you're going to leave the business to a supervisor, you're not going to leave it to a supervisor. No one's going to run your business as good as what you're going to run your business. And if it's not a business where you can be there on the ground full time, all the time, right, then you're going to leave yourself open to things happening. You're going to leave yourself open to a lot more losses than if you were there. Okay, so that's just something to take note of. Okay, the second business, which can be risky, not impossible, it's a good business, is anything to do with farming or agriculture. I can't even talk. Okay, now reason why I'm saying farming. Okay, so let me be specific here. There are certain farming businesses that you can run from abroad, right? They're not as risky because they don't require as much maintenance, right? You don't have to look. They don't need lots of supervision. Okay, so depending on the type of crops that you're going to grow. But when it comes to animals and certain crops that turn around quite quickly, you really do have to be there because you can quickly lose your crops, right? Things can go left very, very quickly, okay? First of all, if you don't have the right members of staff that know exactly what they're looking for and have a passion about what it is that you're growing or you're rearing, then they really don't care. They're just there for their money. And when you hire someone and they're just there for the money, they're going to give you the bare minimum rather than giving you the best, okay? So Things like that will turn over quickly, like carrots, lettuce, things like that, that turn over very quickly, right? If you are not there, crops will go missing. Believe me, someone will make a business out of your business. Crops will go missing. You know, the crops won't be protected. You're going to find animals eating it. They're just getting, you know, like infestations happen. No one's going to treat the soil. No one's going to do anything if you are not on the ground. Now, if you're on the ground and you're able to go and monitor very, very often to make sure it's going the way it's supposed to going, right? And your harvest, you know that when it's time to harvest, you're there and you're on the ground. Then that's maybe you can do that. That's a different type of thing. But if you're not going to be there for the harvest and you're not going to be there to maintain and keep an eye on some of these things, it can be quite tricky, okay? Even if you've hired people that know exactly what they're doing, you still need to be on the ground to make sure things are going in the direction that they're going. Especially when it comes to animals. Animals will go missing all the time. You don't want to hear stories. We don't want to hear stories about how, oh, it was attacked, someone broke in and did this, because trust me, they'll do it there. They'll take the animals, they'll sell them, you know, they'll use them for their own farm, you know, like, you have farm one, they will have farm two. You don't even know what's going on. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Even like you have chickens, the eggs will be stolen. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, these are things that you can't monitor when you're abroad. Like someone stealing eggs, how are you going to know that eggs have been stolen? How do you know when the chicken laid its eggs, how do you know how many eggs were laid? Like, it's going to be very, very difficult. So things like that are going to be hard to monitor. So if you're going to go into any type of farming or agriculture, I would suggest that you go into the areas where the harvest comes about once in a while, and you know that it doesn't require a lot from you, right? It's not going to need a lot of nurturing from you, but you'll be there for harvest. I would always suggest you be there for harvest. Don't leave harvest to somebody else to do for you. I would suggest you be there for harvest. Okay, now the third business that I would say can be pretty tricky is the transport business, okay? So many people have tried the transport business and failed, even when they were on the ground, let alone trying to do it while you're not even in Ghana. Like, transport business is risky. I think we can all think of things that can go wrong when it comes to transport, right? Any type of like trotro service. Trotro service is like the buses. So it's like a 12-seater bus. People get on it. You know, those are private. Anybody can set up one of those types of business, or even running some type of, you know, Uber-like system. They can be tricky because, first of all, you're entrusting someone with a vehicle. If you've been in Ghana, if you've seen anything about Ghana, you will see how the people drive. They really do not care about the car that they're driving. I mean, their own cars, yeah, they kind of take care of it, but you can kind of, for the most part, you can tell when someone doesn't own a car because they just drive it anyhow. Just anything goes anyhow. Like, there's no care, consideration, or anything. Just like they do the gears, and you know what I'm saying? Like there's just no care. You can just tell. And so if you want to go into a business like that, and you are going to be the one that buys the car and gives it to someone else to drive on your behalf, be ready for the bill. Be ready for the repair cost that is going to come your way, because it's going to come. And I always say, like, when it comes to having a car in Ghana, right, it's so high risk, because when something goes wrong with the car, right, the mechanics, you have to put your whole trust in the mechanics, because when you go for them to come and repair your car, like, your car can come out of more problems than it goes in with. I think I don't know if some of you may have been watching me for a while, where Marvin was saying that he took his car to the mechanics, and they, Marvin of Shark Island. And when he took the car there, right, I can't remember what problem, it had a fault or something. When he went to pick it up, the car didn't have a battery, and they said, "Oh, but boss, you brought the car in without a battery." Like, that sounds so ridiculous. Like, how did I bring the car in without a battery? It sounds so ridiculous, but it does happen. Stories like that do exist. Like, it's like the headache. For me, sometimes when I see some of these mechanic places, I'm like, all these cars that I see, they're just like a graveyard of dead bodies to me, because there's so many of them, and you know that a lot of them left worse than what they came in with. So first of all, you have to get yourself a great mechanic that is going to know your vehicle, know that the parts for the vehicle that you have, you can easily get, because getting car parts in Ghana is very difficult. Hey, this is going to be a video all by itself. Anyway, So you have to make sure that you have someone that's going to look after the car, be doing regular maintenance on the car. You know, in Ghana, we don't have a maintenance culture for anything when it comes to our houses, our cars, any of that stuff. There is no maintenance culture. And so that's a problem. So you're going to get people who are not used to maintaining things, driving cars until the wheels are bald, you know, things are falling apart. The wing mirror, they use sellotape to tape the wing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it just comes with a whole host of problems when you get into the transport business. You know, you're going to have things like people not telling you what the actual sales are. For, like, you have a trotro and you could have had 100 people go into that trotro that day, right? They'll report 30 people. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's no way to really monitor what is happening. A business like that is going to be very, very tricky to get a real grasp on what is happening on the ground unless you are there with your own two eyes to see it. And so that is going to be a very risky business. I know people have tried it. The cars just become damaged. They're tired of repairing it. Drivers sometimes run away with the cars too, you know. So people try to pivot a little bit on that. So they do this, what's it called? Oh, what am I trying to say? They do this thing where it's work and pay, right? So the person will work for you and they'll bring you your money, but they're working to pay off the car at the same time, right? That's a structure you can use because then the person's more likely to want to look after the car, especially if they feel like they're paying off something that's going to belong to them. They will look after it, but it doesn't mean you're still not going to get a whole host of problems. And so that's something to think about. It can be a good business, but now you have competition with people like Uber and Bolt, and so it's probably not as good as what it used to be unless you can pivot on that idea in some way to make it work for you. The fourth business I would say is going to be a clothing business. Okay, now I feel like Ghana does have a need for certain clothes. I've said it on camera before where for me, I find it very difficult to find clothes in Ghana, right? That are not made in Ghana clothes, just like regular clothes. It can be very difficult. So people, sometimes, you know, they have Instagram pages where they sell clothes or, you know, you set up a shop. Now, the problem with having a business like that and not being on the ground yourself is that it does need some supervision, right? Stock goes missing and you'll hear all the stories in all the world. You just like, it's not a terrible business to go into, but it's not one that's hands off. So if you don't live in the country, I would say it can be risky. You know, when the stuff arrives, if you're not there to see it arrive to make sure the stuff is okay, you're going to hear stories. This has happened to this, missing, this, you know, you just don't want to hear those kind of stories. So inventory is going to be your biggest problem when it comes to any type of like clothes store, right? Being able to keep an eye on the stock. How will you report, or how will your staff be able to report that things have genuinely been stolen? Because customers do steal, right? How are we going to differentiate from when a customer steals and when it's staff stealing? And usually you may not even see these things until it's gone to a point where it's just out of control. And so, you know, I've heard many stories where people have had stuff and some staff members come in and wiped away the whole stock while they're there. Similar to the video I did the other day with the guy with the mobile phones, right? And his person just took all those phones and sold them and closed the business. The similar thing can happen with a clothing business as well. So you don't want to open yourself up to unnecessary risks. So you have to be careful. So a clothing business, although it can be a good business, it's also a risky one if you're not going to be on the ground to supervise all the time. Now, the fifth one that I would say has got to be a hotel, a guest house, that kind of thing. That is going to be very, very hard to run from abroad. And I say that because you're talking about running a business where, again, you're going to need a lot of staff, right? Especially if there's going to be food on the premises. Your staff members. Now, I have to say this. One thing when it comes to staff members, when it comes to guest houses, is you need to keep an eye on your staff members' hygiene. I kid you not. You wouldn't think that that's something that has to be said or you have to tell people, but you have to tell people. When it comes to Ghana, I'm sorry, let me just say, like, hygiene is not top priority. Sometimes, like, someone walks past you and you're like, what? Whoa, it's kind of like that, you know. And so you don't want people like that working. You can't see that. You can't smell someone from across a camera. Do you see what I'm saying? And a lot of people won't tell somebody that they smell because it's going to be deemed as rude. And so unless you have someone who's pretty sharp that's going to be on top of things like that, they'll just let it go. So you can imagine having a restaurant and then all your staff members are smelling. How many people are coming to a restaurant, I say, a hotel? How many people are coming to stay in that place? It's like that kind of business, you need to be, that's on the go training as well, right? So even if you have good staff members, you still need to be constantly training them to deal with certain things, because you're going to get a whole host of things that pop up at the time that your staff members are going to have to be able, they're going to have to critically think. Hey, my brain is running too fast, sorry. They're going to have to critically think in certain situations. And if you're not there on the ground, are they able to deal with some of these things, or are they just going to like fall apart? It's going to affect your business. You're still going to have bills to pay. And meanwhile, you're going to be dealing with all of this. The thing about Ghana is once you get a little bit of a bad name, it travels very fast. Ghana is very, very, very small, and names go around so quickly. It's very easy to damage someone's brands as quickly as they've built it. It's very, very easy for that to happen. Maybe not as quickly as they built it, but it's very easy to damage someone's brand, you know. So if you want to have a really good brand, then you've got to make sure that you are there on the ground to make sure your staff, because your staff is the ones that are holding the business together. You know, you're going to have lots of things happen. Like a hotel requires a lot of things, right? Talking about housekeeping, clean sheets, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole host of things to think about. And I don't feel that that's a business that you can be so hands off in, right? And there's a lot of transactions going to be happening as well. So you want to make sure that you're there for it, because you cannot leave that to somebody else. You're going to have to be there for it. Theft happens a lot. Even the smallest things that you think, oh, someone won't take this, someone will take it. Even if it's a sheet and it's got a hole in it, someone will take it. Like you have to be so on the ball. And it's probably difficult to understand what I'm saying until you experience it for yourself, or when you're on the ground, then you will know how these things happen. Like crazy things can happen. You'd be surprised people can tap into your electricity. You know, someone left a comment on one of our videos the other day and said, you know, they have a house and their meter is being tapped by everybody else in the block pretty much. You know, these things happen. So these are things that you need to keep an eye on. People will be tapping into your water. Like there's so many things, like things that you wouldn't think of that could possibly happen, can happen. And unless you're there on the ground to catch it quickly, you'll be leaking money and you don't even know it. So if you're not in the country, these are going to be very, very risky businesses. I mean, they are risky even if you're in the country, because they require you to be there, your presence. And so they can be risky, but if you can do them right, then the profits are going to be good for you. But you have to be able to get it right, and it's going to demand a lot from you. And if you're happy to do that, then hey, be my guest, go for it. You know, I'm just putting out the information there. But on the whole, if you are thinking about running a business, you need to think about if the business is going to be daily cash handling. Anything that is going to be daily cash handling is going to require you to be there, okay? You need to be as cashless as possible to help you not get stolen from, okay? So that's going to help you. Also, businesses that are going to require a lot of supervision, a lot of micromanaging, you're going to have to be there. That's going to be tough as well. So if you want to have a business and run it from abroad, you've got to think of things that don't necessarily require your physical presence to be there all the time, okay? Anything that's going to require yourself to be there, then obviously it's going to be hard to run it from abroad. Even if you have someone who's going to lead up this amazing business for you, you're still going to have to put all your trust into that person. And as I said before, no one's going to run your business the way that you will, because it's your vision. But anyway, that's just something to think about. Let me know if there are a few more that you think I should add to the list. Let me know about the ones that I've mentioned, what you think. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Have you tried and tested some of these? How's it gone for you? I'd love to hear your stories. Drop them in the comment section for me, okay? Right, if you'd like to do a one-to-one consultation with me about moving to Ghana, you can send me an email to dela@mortodela.com and we'll go from there. Okay, I hope you're enjoying the videos. If there's anything specific you would like me to talk about, you can also put that into the comment section. I'll do my best to serve as much as I can, okay? If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to also like, comment and share this video. Until next time, I am out. Nativa.
me